Y'all, hear me out. Tony Chopper. Sorry for spitting. Tony Chopper is the best One Piece character ever. And you know what you're saying? Oh my god, what about Zoro? He's so cool and powerful. What about Luffy? He's literally the main character. What about Nami? She's so no, shut up. I don't care about what anybody says. Tony Chopper is the best One Piece character ever. And I'm gonna convince you why. But how am I supposed to convince you why? When we first meet Chopper in episode 80, Dalton is talking about the only doctor in the whole village, the whole country, the entire island. And the doctor is a witch. When the question is asked, how does an old lady get down the mountains, we are then given imagery about a witch riding a sled with a full moon behind her, with a reindeer, Chopper, pulling it. The audience doesn't see Chopper as cute. We see him associated with a witch that is powerful enough to heal Nami or, not heal Nami. And while also being showed in mystery and greed described by Usopp. This is the first time we actually see Chopper and is said by name by Dr. Reen. Chopper is a complete mystery, and the first time we see him, we are supposed to feel uneasy while looking at him. When I was watching this episode for the first time, I was shocked because the entire fandom painted him as all cute and chibi. But his appearance in this episode is completely different. He is walking on all fours, looks like a reindeer instead of a chibi version, and is wearing his pants along with his hat that makes shadows over his eyes. Chopper's introduction to the show makes us not want to like him as the audience. He even hits a kid on the head as a way of anesthesia for the doctor, and even growls at people when they criticize her. The people of the town even call him a creature, monster, or strange. The episode wants us not to like Chopper, but this is all a setup and a call to his past. At the very end of episode 83, Nami wakes up. Nami wakes up to a cute, short little guy taking care of her. And when Nami says hello to Chopper, Chopper freaks out, runs, and hides. Chopper wants to take care of people, yet he is afraid of them, because, trauma. But in this scene, we don't even hear Chopper's iconic cute footsteps. Instead, we just hear regular hoof noises until the next episode in 84. And in episode 84, Nami even compliments Chopper on being a good doctor. He tells her to shut up and blushes and does a dance. A common character trait that he does, and he does this because he has never or rarely has given or gotten compliments, so he has no idea how to react. Reacting in a harsh way, like saying shut up or damn you to a compliment, is Chopper's way of pushing someone away so they don't get too close, but his blushing and his little dances is his true feelings. And then, the moment we've all been waiting for, we finally get to see the real Tony Chopper in episode 83. After Luffy's sad struggle of climbing up the Drum Mountains, he falls, but Chopper catches him in his heavy point, with his eyes still being covered in black, still making him look scary. But he immediately takes them to the doctor so they can be treated. Chopper watching Luffy struggle for the sake of his friends, enduring all those injuries, was when Chopper saw the good in humanity. But sadly, this good in humanity is ruined when Luffy makes a funny joke of, "Let's eat Chopper," by Sanji too. And Sanji and Luffy, they chase Chopper around the castle. Well, it is a funny joke. This is the first time in Chopper's life where someone didn't call him a monster, besides the doctors, of course, but it's also when someone wanted Chopper, even if it was to eat him. But sadly, after Luffy and Sanji realized that Chopper was walking and talking, Chopper overhears them calling him a monster. And then he walks away. As Chopper walks down the stairs, his insecurities about his appearance come crashing down. While Chopper thought that he could be friends with them and maybe become a pirate with Luffy, his insecurities just crash him down. However, Chopper didn't hear the part where they called him cool and wanted him to join the crew. Chopper's backstory is one of the saddest, and it makes me cry every time. Not only is it relatable for most people, but it's a common thing. Chopper was rejected from his herd of animals and reindeer because of the way he was born, even rejected by his parents, all because he had a blue nose. He has a wound on his heart that no doctor can heal because of the amount of times he has been hurt. After Chopper ate the human fruit, he went down to the human village, hoping to fit in, but he was rejected by the humans too. Being shot at and called a monster, he was hunted too. But then after Chopper was shot so many times, he just lied in the snow, being rejected from both human and reindeer society. And in episode 85, after Chopper was shot, he's kind of just, rotting away in the snow. But that's when Dr. Hurluck finds him and helps him. The doctor pulls a gun on Chopper, but Chopper freaks out and hits the doctor. But even though the doctor says to Chopper that it is an anesthesia gun, Chopper is still terrified of guns. And that's the reason why none of the Straw Hats use or will use guns. Except that one scene with Sanji. But anyways. But because of Chopper, they will never use guns. So yeah, Usopp will always be a loser. A slingshot user. But anyways, so the doctor strips and says, I want to help. And Chopper kind of faints, which is implied consent. So the doctor helps out Chopper. So then after Hurluck helps out Chopper and Hurluck then live out their days together, like father and son. He feeds Chopper, dresses him, took care of him, taught him everything he knew about healthcare, and even named him Tony Chopper. Chopper and Hurluck have a bit of a fight, and that's the first time Chopper has ever fought with someone. And after that fight, he was gifted his hat. This was the first time someone has ever shown that they cared about Chopper. Before Chopper ever joined the Straw Hats, he already had a small desire to become a pirate because he wanted to see what Hurluck saw. But in such a heartbroken moment, Chopper is healed and kicked out. Since Chopper doesn't have anywhere to go, he hurts himself so the doctor can see him. But just like the villagers, Hurluck starts to shoot at him, driving Chopper away. However, this time, it was out for love for him, even if it was really messed up. The truth about Chopper's backstory and Hurluck kicking Chopper out because he knew he was dying and didn't want Chopper to see him in such a state. But Chopper being Chopper goes on a mini adventure to find a mushroom in the hopes to cure Hurluck. And this mushroom had a skull and crossbones on it in Hurluck's books. So he associated that with piracy, and he associated piracy with good. And on this adventure, Chopper has to cross a field. But in this field is his old herd. The biggest reindeer does not allow Chopper to pass. And he fights him. Even after Chopper runs away with a beaten body, the reindeer still follows him, breaking his legs, giving him a black eye, and breaking one of his antlers off. And the reason why Chopper has a silver piece on his antler was to screw his antlers back together. A small detail that is so heartbreaking. But when Chopper comes back to the doctor, he says he's sorry. Sorry for losing his book. Even after enduring that beating from his old herd, Chopper still sees himself as a burden because he lost a book. Chopper's self-worth doesn't exist because he views himself so very low, which is why he can't take a compliment. But this is when the greatest plot twist in One Piece happened. And I don't care about all the other plot twists. It's the greatest plot twist ever. Confusing that mushroom with a crossbone and skulls was Chopper's biggest mistake, because Chopper gave Hurlock a poisonous mushroom. Chopper thought a skull and crossbones was about piracy and piracy being good, but he didn't know it was poisonous. Hurlock goes to the castle doors and delivers one of the greatest speeches ever. And then he kills himself, blowing himself up so Chopper wouldn't feel guilty.
人生だった!ありがとよ、チョッパー!
Wompo pulls up to the castle and he's like, yo, this mine. But then Wompo shoots Hurlock's pirate flag, and this makes Chopper visibly distressed about it, and Luffy notices it. Chopper runs up to Wompo but doesn't hit him because he wants to live by Hurlock's values of forgiveness. But Wompo, being the horrible person he is, he attacks Chopper. And this is where Luffy makes another one of his iconic moments where he declares war on his enemies. Luffy is the goodness and humanity that Chopper needs. His entire life, there have only been two good humans, Hurlock and Dr. Rean. Since Chopper only knows Drum Island, and all the humans on Drum Island hate Chopper, Chopper thinks all of humanity hates him, views him as a monster. But Luffy does one act of kindness that changed Chopper's entire view.
これが海賊。俺ね、絶対に。新年の印だ。僕はドクター、トニトニチョッパー。
Luffy has no idea how much Hurlock's flag means to Chopper, but it doesn't matter, because Luffy always stands on his beliefs. Luffy doesn't even know Chopper's name and calls him Reindeer the whole arc until the very end, but Luffy still considers him as a friend and fights for his flag. After the fight with Wompo and Luffy was so excited to introduce Chopper to the rest of the Straw Hats. And Dalton bows down in respect, thanking Chopper for defeating Wompo. And he even defends Chopper when the townspeople wanted to shoot at Chopper. Chopper refuses to go with Luffy as a pirate because he thinks he is nothing like them. After all, he's a reindeer and they're human. He thinks being a reindeer means they can't be friends, and even calls himself a monster. The one thing he hates being called, but Luffy refuses. And Chopper accepts it. Excited, Chopper tells Dr. Rean he's leaving, and even says that he is a man. But Doctor was like, nah. But that was for love. Just as Dr. Hurlock had to shoot at Chopper to push him away, Dr. Rean had to attack Chopper, forcing him to leave. But before he left, the cherry blossoms bloomed in the winter. The winter island being the cold world, while cherry blossoms are Chopper, growing in the harshest environments, but still being kind and beautiful. And then the episode ends with Dr. Rean as she looks down the mountains, eyes filled with tears. After the Straw Hats get on board, Chopper freaks out about how he forgot his medical bag. But Nami says that Dr. Reen packed it for him. This is when Chopper realizes that Dr. Reen's tough love was because she truly saw him as a son. And the Straw Hats, like as they always do, party as they call Chopper by his name. Okay, so have I convinced you now that Chopper is the best One Piece character ever? I hope so, because I was damned to die on that hill. Chopper's backstory is filled with trauma and trust issues, not by just humans, but by reindeers too. Chopper's character is filled with facing and overcoming one's fears with love and forgiveness. He's so well written, but it's a shame that the fandom and even the author himself started to see him as just a mascot character. A brilliant character arc, wasted for the sake of cuteness. But at least Chopper does more in the story than Usopp ever will. Chopper has a dream, a selfless dream, to become a doctor to cure every disease there is. And I feel like a lot of people forget about that. A lot of people forget that Chopper is powerful. As the world government sees him as just a pet, and the people of Drum Island sees him as just a monster, the fandom sees him as just cute. We need to do better. Anyways, Chopper supremacy.
口癖